Do you want an amazing marriage? Are you ready to take your marriage to the next level? Then stick around for Your Marriage Matters podcast with marriage coach Lynn. Let's put some fun and sizzle into your relationship.
Hi friends, how did it go last week? Did you ask your partner, what's it like being married to me? What was the response? How did you feel? Join the conversation on Facebook group Your Marriage Matters podcast. Did you know that about 70% of our disagreements are not apt to be solved, that they are unsolvable? Chalk it up to difference of opinion, difference in preference, difference in perception. Yet so many couples think they have to argue and hash it out until they come to a consensus. Imagine how much time people are wasting stuck in circular arguments on the same topics that remain with them for years. What is this faulty notion that we need to discuss until we resolve issues? We think the goal is to discuss until we put to rest one person's different opinion. Let's put our disagreements into 3 categories. 1, stuff that probably won't be solved. Can you identify what these issues are in your marriage? If not, get to work. When you discover the topics that you have to agree to disagree on, you will free up time and energy. Let's say that one of you leans toward a political Democrat viewpoint and another Republican. Do you really want to go round in circles with your spouse for years? You'd be better off entering a Lincoln Douglas debate competition. 2, another type of disagreement, solvable problems. Wouldn't we all love to have our relationships dominated by solvable problems? Number 3, temporary gridlock. You know there's a solution, but you're not there yet. We will talk more about gridlock on episode 10. Do you want a better sex life? More sex? 1, then figure out what your unsolvable topics are and stop arguing about them. Come to an acceptance point of comfort. 2, find healthy ways of communicating and solving the solvable problems. 3, when you encounter gridlock, know what to do to leave the topic alone and know when to come back to it and how to figure out how you can make progress. 4, don't take things personally. And 5, set that ego aside and the need to be right. This is how you create peace. More peace in your relationship, more physical closeness. Today, we're not going to focus on solving our arguments, but rather we are going to focus on healthy dialogue. There's a difference here. Healthy dialogue, not just finding an end point. Many people think the end result of communication is solving problems and fixing things, but I would like to remind you that we are still on the Sound Relationship House Level 5, Manage Conflict. We are talking about managing conflict, and what's important in your communication is listening, give and take, acceptance of the problem. When we manage conflict, we aren't trying to ignore it or avoid it. What we need to do is find skills to manage it. In other words, we know it's there, we know it will arise, and we want to face our disagreements or welcome them and deal with them in a mature way. I find it interesting when I meet couples who've been married more than 20 years who claim they never argue or disagree. Never is a strong word. When I observe these couples, I usually find 2 main explanations. 1, one of the partner has a stronger personality, and the less dominant partner has gone silent and is extremely agreeable. Or 2, they aren't telling the truth, whether intentional or unintentional. When we talk about unintentional, it is something like this. Dynamics and habits are formed, and the stronger personality is unaware that there is underlying conflict in the relationship. Do you want perpetual problems to go on for years and years with frustration and repetition being a constant underlying nuisance? Of course not. There are problems that are going to arise, of course, that are not solvable. Take, for example, driving style. How many of you do not like the driving habits of your spouse? For years, you've been saying, slow down, stop tailgating, or use your signal light, or look over your shoulder before switching lanes. Well, here is my solution I stumbled across many years ago on a snowy, dangerous drive. I was just being very pushed to the limit with my patience, and I had a different view of how I would drive our 15-passenger van in 3 or 4 inches of snow on a highly trafficked highway. What you need to do is, and this is what I did, you go out and you buy a sleep mask, put it over your eyes, and when your partner is driving, and do some breathing and meditation exercises, and before you know it, you will arrive safely at your destination. Never again do you need to supervise your spouse while driving. He or she's had their license for what, 15, 20 years? We cannot expect fundamental habits or differences between us to change, nor should we try to change our partner. Personality and core values are not likely to change. We will have perpetual problems, and it's better to not try to change those, but to establish a dialogue about those issues, to make peace and to accept. And I'm not going to give you a blow-by-blow how-to dialogue. That's for you to figure out the comfortable song and dance within the two of you of how to dialogue. You want to communicate affection, though. That's definitely... I'm more in the broader brush approach. What are you generally looking for? You're looking to communicate affection and even poke fun at your differences. A sense of humor and amusement is important in dialoguing about continual problems or differences. If you become angry, anxious, or insistent, you might escalate conflict or create a distance between the two of you. You never want to create a distance between you, even at the first twinge or inclination. Please do not be bashful to confront or to reveal your feelings. What happens in many, many couples is that they ignore and they squash down little feelings that arise that they have to confront, or they think that they're criticizing. Please don't be bashful. You need to deal with things as they arise, or before you knew it, you will be one of those persons saying, I really don't know what went wrong in our relationship. I don't want you to be one of those. I don't want things to be a surprise to you. So let's form some awareness and let's not be bashful. Make it a goal to avoid building walls and creating distance. You know what happens. Affection goes out the window. Eye contact diminishes. Low-key anger and resentment can set in. Before you know it, you're having less sex and you're becoming strangers under the same roof. The key in dialoguing about problems is what you bring to the discussion. Here are the ingredients of what you will need. Number 1, a positive attitude. Number 2, affection for your partner. Number 3, honor for your partner. 4, respect for your partner's point of view and intelligence pertaining to the matter. 5, bring your listening ears and set the volume on high. Here are some things you can do to dialogue about your problems. 1, schedule a gripe session. Set aside a certain amount of time so that one partner can flush out all of his thoughts or feelings on a certain topic. 2, do not enter into conversation and attempt to dialogue maturely and intelligently when one of you is preoccupied or stressed. You're going to waste time and have to start over again, so it's better to wait until you're both receptive to the conversation. 3, always look for the best interests of the married couple in the event that you each disagree with an issue pertaining to your children or in-laws. The married unit comes first. There's nothing worse than a married couple having major differences with their in-laws or children and having that be a huge source of contention to the point of near breakup. For example, if your 17-year-old wants $3,000 to buy a used car that he says he will need for a job and commuting to college, and you can't afford to give him the money, and the wife doesn't want to co-sign a loan, then hold off on taking action. If the wife doesn't want to freely give the son money, but the husband wants to do whatever it takes, then you might want to stick with taking no action for the time being. Avoid tension due to differences. A husband and wife should almost never take sides with an in-law. The husband and wife bond is a family unit that supersedes the parent-child relationship, in my opinion. If you are trying to forge a healthy marriage, then the priority is the husband and wife bond. 4, focus on your friendship and the vision that you are a team. Each team player might have a different position with different points of views and goals, but it should not detract from the bigger picture. So those are just some things you can do to dialogue about your problem, focusing that you are a team. This week, make a list on paper or in your mind of the problems that have not been solved. Perhaps that is telling you something. They might not be able to be solved. Think of new ways of thinking about this difference or impasse. Think of new ways of talking about this issue with your spouse. You don't necessarily need to focus on solving the problem, but finding an approach that is respectful and understanding of your spouse and the issue. That is the goal. If you can spare a few minutes, please write a review, rate this episode, and send me an email with questions or topic ideas. When we finish with the Sound Relationship House, we will create some time for listeners' topics. Until next time, make your marriage great.